The discovery. The Helios sector wasn't known for its hospitality. Sitting on the edge of human-controlled space, it was a place where the desperate came to strike it rich and the wealthy came to hide their secrets. Captain Sarah Chen knew both types well enough. She'd spent the last 5 years hauling cargo through these treacherous lanes, learning which routes to avoid and which harbor masters could be trusted. Today's run should have been simple. Medical supplies to the mining colony on Petra 9. The manifest was clean, the payment cleared, and her ship, the Starcatcher, was running smooth as silk. Sarah had even treated herself to real coffee from her dwindling Earth supply, the aroma filling her small bridge as she watched the stars streak by. The distress signal shattered her peace like a hammer through glass. It wasn't the standard Federation emergency beacon. This was something different. The signal pulsed with an odd harmonic she'd never encountered before, making her ship's sensors struggle to decode it. When they finally did, the message was brief. Research vessel Athena. Under attack. Valuable specimen at risk. Help. Sarah's fingers hovered over her controls. The smart move would be to alert Federation patrol and continue on her way. She had a schedule to keep, and pirates in this sector were known for using fake distress calls to lure in unsuspecting ships. But something about that signal's strange harmonics nagged at her. She pulled up the sensor readings again, studying the wavelength patterns. They were crystalline in structure, unlike anything human technology produced. This wasn't a trap. It was a genuine alien distress call, somehow patched through human communication protocols. Computer, full scan of the signal's origin point, Sarah commanded, already plotting a course adjustment. The results confirmed her suspicion. The research vessel's energy signature was authentic, but it was accompanied by another, larger ship with military-grade shielding. Pirates, and not the amateur kind. Sarah knew their type. The Crimson Cartel had been growing bolder lately, targeting research vessels and their valuable specimens. Their leader, a brutal woman known only as the Commodore, had a reputation for selling rare alien artifacts and beings to the highest bidder, regardless of ethical concerns or galactic law. The smart move would still be to call it in and move on. But Sarah hadn't survived this long by ignoring her instincts, and right now every one of them was screaming that something unprecedented was happening. If the cartel had found something truly unique. She thought of her military days, of the oath she'd taken to protect both human and alien life. She'd left that life behind after the corporate wars, choosing the freedom of independent hauling over following orders she couldn't morally justify. But some principles hadn't changed. Computer, begin emergency protocol Alpha 3. Sarah ordered, her voice steady. Reroute power to shields and weapons, and get me everything you can on the Athena's research mission. As her ship's systems reconfigured themselves, Sarah studied the tactical display. The pirate vessel was massive, easily 4 times the size of her modified cargo hauler. But size meant predictability, and she'd outmaneuvered bigger ships before. The computer search returned sparse results. The Athena was registered to Frontier Scientific, a small private research firm. Their stated mission was to study crystalline formations in the Helios sector's asteroid belts. Nothing particularly valuable there, unless they'd found something more than simple rocks. That strange harmonic echoed in Sarah's mind. Crystalline formations, an alien distress signal with a crystalline structure. The pieces were starting to fit together, forming a picture that both thrilled and terrified her. Computer, prepare for stealth approach, she commanded, already feeling her heart rate increase. And open a secure channel to Dr. Marcus Wong at Frontier Scientific. Authorization code, Chen 7 Delta. Marcus had been her brother's colleague before the wars. If anyone could confirm her suspicions about what the Athena had found, it would be him. As she waited for the connection, Sarah ran through her combat protocols. She was one person in a cargo ship going up against a crew of hardened pirates. But she had 2 advantages they didn't: surprise and the burning curiosity to understand exactly what kind of being could send a distress signal that made her sensors dance like starlight through crystal. Sometimes, she reflected, the most human thing you could do was ignore all logic and leap into the unknown. The secure channel crackled to life, and Dr. Wong's weathered face appeared on her screen. His eyes widened in recognition, then narrowed with concern. "Sarah, it's been years. Please tell me you're not anywhere near the Helios sector right now." Sarah's grim smile was all the answer he needed. "Marcus, I need to know what the Athena found. And I need to know fast, because I'm pretty sure the Crimson Cartel is about to sell it to the highest bidder." His face went pale. "God help us all," he whispered. "They found one. A living crystal. The last of its kind. The choice. A living crystal." Sarah leaned forward in her pilot's chair, studying Marcus's haunted expression. "I thought those were just legends from the deep exploration era." "They were legends because we never found proof," Marcus replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "Until now. The Athena's team discovered it in an ancient hibernation chamber, deep within an asteroid belt. It's not just alive, Sarah. It's sentient, and it may be the last of its species." Sarah's tactical display blinked insistently, showing the pirate ship moving away from the disabled research vessel. They were already making their escape with their precious cargo. Time was running out. "What can it do?" she asked, fingers dancing across her control panel, calculating pursuit vectors. "I need to know what I'm dealing with." Marcus ran a hand through his gray hair. "They're called the Luminae. According to ancient records, they were peacekeepers once, guardians of vast regions of space. Their crystalline bodies can absorb and redirect energy in ways we still don't understand. But more importantly," he paused, glancing over his shoulder as if afraid of being overheard, "they can interface with any technology they touch. If the cartel sells this being to the wrong buyer, they'd have the ultimate hacking tool," Sarah finished grimly. "Perfect for corporate espionage, military operations, or worse." Her ship's computer chimed, presenting multiple pursuit routes. The safest would take her through the sector's main shipping lanes, where she might find help. The fastest would thread through an unstable asteroid field, notorious for electromagnetic disturbances that played havoc with navigation systems. Sarah thought about her cargo hold full of medical supplies, about the mining colony expecting their delivery. She thought about her comfortable life hauling cargo, staying just profitable enough to maintain her independence. All of that would be at risk the moment she committed to this chase. But then she thought about the harmonics of that distress signal, the pure, crystalline notes that had reached out across space. Not just a call for help, but a song of loneliness, of desperate hope. The last of its kind, trapped and afraid. "Marcus," she said, her decision crystallizing like a star being born, "I need everything you have on the Luminae. Technical specs, historical records, anything that might give me an edge. Because I'm going after them." His eyes widened. "Sarah, the Crimson Cartel has a fleet. The Commodore doesn't show mercy to anyone who interferes with her operations. You'd be risking everything," she finished. "I know. But someone once told me that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our numbers. It's our capacity to care about things bigger than ourselves." She allowed herself a small smile. "I think it was you who said that, actually." Marcus's expression softened. "At your brother's memorial service. I didn't think you were listening." "I always listen, Marcus. I just don't always follow good advice." Sarah's fingers flew across her controls, plotting the dangerous route through the asteroid field. "Now tell me everything while I work. The cartel ships are bigger, better armed, and they have a head start. But they're also carrying precious cargo they can't risk damaging, which means they'll be taking the long way around." As Marcus began uploading data to her ship's computer, Sarah initiated her pre-combat checklist. The Starcatcher might look like a simple cargo hauler, but she'd spent years modifying it, preparing for situations exactly like this. Hidden weapon ports slid open, revealing military-grade pulse cannons, technically illegal for civilian ships, but essential for survival in the outer sectors. Experimental shield harmonics came online, their frequency a closely guarded secret from her military days. "There's something else you should know," Marcus said as she worked. "The Luminae doesn't just interface with technology. According to the records, they can form deep psychological bonds with other sentient beings. If you rescue it," he hesitated, "it might change you, Sarah. The connection goes both ways." Sarah thought about her life since leaving the military. She'd chosen solitude, hiding from the pain of loss behind cargo manifests and delivery schedules. Maybe it was time for a change. "Upload complete," her computer announced. Course plotted through the Vermilion asteroids. "Caution: gravitational anomalies detected. Standard navigation systems may be compromised." Sarah took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the engine controls. This was the moment of commitment, the point of no return. She could still turn back, make her delivery, maintain her comfortable isolation. The distress signal's harmony echoed in her mind once more, like a crystal bell ringing in the void of space. In that alien song, she heard something that resonated with her own hidden loneliness. "Marcus," she said, her voice steady, "alert Federation security about the Athena. Her crew will need rescue. But don't mention me. And don't mention the Luminae. As far as anyone knows, I'm just a cargo hauler making a routine delivery." "Sarah," Marcus's voice was heavy with concern. "Be careful. And good hunting." The channel closed, leaving Sarah alone with her decision. Outside her viewport, the asteroid field waited like a maze of shifting shadows and treacherous light. Somewhere beyond it, the last crystalline being in the galaxy was being carried away to an uncertain fate. Sarah Chen, former military pilot, current cargo hauler, and possibly future savior of an ancient species, allowed herself one last moment of doubt. Then she fired her engines to full power and dove into the asteroid field, letting the darkness swallow her ship whole. The choice was made. There was only forward now. The infiltration. The asteroid field was a dance of shadows and light, a maze of spinning rocks and unpredictable gravitational eddies. Most pilots would have turned back after the first near miss, but Sarah Chen wasn't most pilots. She let her instincts guide her, responding to the field's chaotic patterns like a swimmer reading ocean waves. Her ship's sensors were nearly useless here, scrambled by electromagnetic interference from mineral deposits in the asteroids. But that worked both ways. The cartel's sophisticated tracking systems would be equally blind. It was just Sarah, her reflexes, and the occasional glint of crystalline formations catching starlight through the chaos. Those crystals seemed different now that she knew about the Luminae. Were they natural formations, or ancient remnants of a civilization that had once kept peace among the stars? She didn't have time to wonder. Her quarry waited on the other side of this celestial maze. The Starcatcher emerged from the asteroid field to find exactly what Sarah had hoped for. The cartel ship, moving slower than expected, still several hours from their nearest safe harbor. They hadn't bothered with stealth. Why would they? No one would be foolish enough to pursue them through the Vermilion asteroids. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile as she initiated her ship's stealth protocols. The Starcatcher's heat signature dropped to nearly nothing, its profile masked by experimental technology she borrowed during her military exit. On the cartel's sensors, she would look like just another piece of space debris, if they noticed her at all. As she closed the distance, Sarah reviewed Marcus's data on the Luminae. The ancient records were fragmented, but they painted a fascinating picture. The crystalline beings had once been mediators between organic species, their ability to interface with both technology and consciousness, making them perfect translators and peacekeepers. But something had happened, a war, a catastrophe, or perhaps a deliberate extinction. The records weren't clear. What was clear was their vulnerability. A Luminae's crystalline form could be damaged by specific energy frequencies. The pirates would know this, would use it to keep their captive compliant. Sarah needed to find those dampening systems and disable them first. The cartel ship grew larger in her viewport, a massive vessel bristling with weapons. But Sarah wasn't interested in a firefight. She'd identified a maintenance airlock near the ship's stern, poorly guarded because who would be crazy enough to dock there, in the shadow of the main engines? Sarah Chen would, apparently. She suited up methodically, checking each seal of her combat armor. It was another relic of her military days, matte black and designed for stealth operations. The helmet's heads-up display flickered to life, connecting with the data Marcus had sent. She armed herself with an energy pistol, set to non-lethal frequencies. She wanted to avoid casualties if possible. More importantly, she carried a specialized engineering tool of her own design. If the Luminae could interface with technology, she reasoned, then creating a device to amplify and protect that ability might give them both an advantage. The docking procedure was the riskiest part. Sarah had to time it perfectly with the ship's regular engine maintenance cycle, when vibrations would mask her approach. One mistake, one miscalculation, and she'd be vaporized by the engines or detected by security. She didn't make mistakes. The airlock sealed with a soft hiss, and Sarah was in. The maintenance corridors were cramped and humid, thick with the smell of engine oil and recycled air. Her helmet's sensors mapped the ship's layout based on energy signatures and air circulation patterns. The brig would be in the secure section, heavily guarded, but something changed. A harmonic vibration, almost too subtle to notice, resonated through the ship's hull, through her suit, through her bones. It felt like the distress signal she detected, but more focused, more deliberate. The Luminae knew she was here. Sarah froze, pressed against a corridor wall, as footsteps approached. Two crew members passed within inches, discussing shift rotations. They never noticed the shadow in their midst, but Sarah hardly paid attention to them. That crystalline resonance was growing stronger, pulling her like a compass needle finding true north. She followed it through the ship's service passages, trusting her instincts more than her sensors. The harmony led her not to the brig, but to a specialized containment lab. Makes sense, she thought. They wouldn't keep something this valuable with common prisoners. The lab's security was impressive. Motion sensors, bioscanners, armed guards. But Sarah had learned long ago that the best security systems were designed to keep people out, not in. Few ever considered that someone might be trying to break into a prison. She found her opening in the lab's atmospheric recycling system. All she needed was 3 minutes to access the maintenance panel, splice into the security network, and the ship's general alarm blared, startling her so badly she nearly dropped her tools. But the alarm wasn't for her. The overhead speakers crackled with urgent voices. All hands to battle stations. Federation cruiser detected on approach vector. Security team to containment lab. Prepare the specimen for emergency transfer. Sarah cursed under her breath. Someone must have tracked the cartel ship despite the asteroid field. Her window of opportunity was closing fast. She needed to move now, before they relocated their precious cargo. The crystalline resonance surged, almost eager. And in that moment, Sarah understood. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. The Luminae had been waiting, perhaps for centuries, for someone willing to reach across the gulf between species. Someone willing to risk everything to prove that humanity could be more than conquerors or thieves. Sarah Chen took a deep breath, readied her tools, and prepared to make history. One way or another, everything was about to change. The Alliance. The containment lab's security systems died with a series of soft clicks as Sarah's override took effect. She dropped from the maintenance shaft into darkness, broken only by a soft, pulsing blue light. The source was a massive cylindrical chamber in the center of the lab, its walls laced with energy dampeners and scanning equipment. Inside floated the Luminae. Sarah's breath caught. No historical record could have prepared her for this. The being was roughly humanoid in shape, but composed entirely of translucent crystal that shifted and flowed like liquid glass. Patterns of light danced through its form, creating ever-changing constellations within its body. It was beautiful, alien, and unmistakably alive. It was also in pain. The dampening field surrounding it pulsed with harsh frequencies, keeping it weakened and contained. Sarah could see how the energy made the crystal structure contract and shudder, like a human body fighting against constant electrical shocks. "I'm here to help," she whispered, approaching the chamber. "I receive your distress signal." The crystalline being turned toward her, its internal lights focusing into what might have been eyes. When it spoke, it wasn't with sound, but with pure resonance that bypassed her ears and went straight to her mind. "You are different from the others. You hear the song." The voice was neither male nor female, young nor old. It felt like starlight given consciousness, like mathematics turned to music. Sarah fought to maintain her focus as she worked to disable the dampening field. "I'm Sarah Chen," she said, her fingers flying over the control panel. "What should I call you?" Names are complex in my language. The closest translation would be a cascade of harmonics, like wind through crystal caves. But you may call me Echo. It is appropriate. The lab's door hissed. Sarah spun, weapon raised, but it was only the environmental system cycling. Still, they were running out of time. The Federation cruiser would be within range soon, and the cartel wouldn't let their prize be captured. "The dampening field is tied into the ship's main power grid," Sarah explained, examining the readouts. "I can't shut it down without triggering every alarm on board. But maybe." She pulled out her custom engineering tool. "If I can match and cancel the frequencies." "Wait." Echo's mental voice grew stronger. "The technology you carry. It is different." Sarah glanced at her tool. "I designed it to help interface with various systems. I thought it might help you." "Bring it closer." She held the device up to the chamber wall. Echo pressed a crystalline hand against the barrier, and suddenly Sarah's tool came alive with light and song. Data streamed across its display faster than she could read, patterns of energy she'd never seen before. "Your design is elegant," Echo commented, "but incomplete. Allow me to show you its full potential." The tool's casing began to crystallize, transforming under Echo's influence. Sarah watched in amazement as it restructured itself, becoming something that was neither purely technological nor purely crystalline, but a perfect fusion of both. "How did you?" The ship's internal communications crackled. "Security team en route to containment. Prepare for specimen transfer." "We have little time," Echo projected. "The ones who captured me do not understand what they truly found. They see only weapon, only tool. But we were never meant to be weapons." Sarah noticed Echo had said "we" rather than "I." She wondered how many Luminae had been lost, how long this being had drifted alone in space before being found. "What were you meant to be?" "Bridges." Echo's inner light pulsed with ancient memory. "Between organic and artificial. Between matter and energy. Between all sentient minds that wish to understand each other. But bridge building requires trust. Partnership." The crystalline being pressed harder against the barrier, its glow intensifying. "I can free myself now, with the device you brought. But freedom alone is not enough. The galaxy has changed. My people are gone. I need an anchor, a partner." Sarah understood suddenly what Echo was suggesting. Marcus had warned her about the deep bonds the Luminae could form. This wouldn't be a simple rescue. It would be a communion of human and crystal, of organic thought and crystalline song. "The Federation ship will be here soon," she said. "We could wait. Let them handle this legally. The Federation would study me, fear me, try to use me. As would any large organization in this age. I need someone who understands the difference between using and partnering. Someone who heard my song and chose to answer." Heavy footsteps echoed from the corridor. The security team was almost there. "Choose quickly, Sarah Chen, but choose freely." Sarah looked at the transformed tool in her hands, at the crystalline being glowing with possibility before her. She thought about her comfortable but lonely life hauling cargo, about the brother she'd lost in the corporate wars, about the spark of connection she'd felt when she first heard that distress signal. The lab door began to slide open. Sarah Chen made her choice. She pressed the transformed device against the chamber wall and opened her mind to Echo's song. Light and crystal and consciousness merge, and in that moment of connection, both human and Lumine understood that neither would ever be alone again. The security team burst in just in time to see the containment chamber explode in a nova of crystalline light. The revolution. The first thing Sarah noticed was the light. It flowed through her mind like liquid starfire, transforming her consciousness into something vast and crystalline. She could feel Echo's presence intertwined with her own, their thoughts merging into a harmony that transcended ordinary human experience. The second thing she noticed was that she could see everything. Through their combined awareness, the entire ship's systems lay open before them. Every circuit, every power conduit, every piece of technology sang with possibilities. Sarah understood now why the cartel had wanted Echo so badly, and why they never could have controlled such power. Together, Echo's thoughts chimed through their shared consciousness. Show me how to navigate this new galaxy through your eyes. The security team opened fire, their energy weapons cutting through the space where Sarah had stood. But she was already moving, her body flowing with an inhuman grace guided by Echo's crystalline precision. The transformed engineering tool in her hand pulsed with power, interfacing with the ship's systems at the speed of thought. "Stand down," Sarah commanded, her voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. "You don't understand what you're dealing with." "Contain them," the security chief shouted. "The Commodore wants the specimen intact." "They cannot hear the song," Echo observed sadly. "But perhaps we can show them a different way." Sarah agreed wordlessly, letting Echo's knowledge flow through her. The tool in her hand became an extension of their shared will. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut, trapping the security team. Life support systems recalibrated, releasing a mild sedative gas. Within moments, the threat was neutralized without a single casualty. But they weren't done yet. The Federation cruiser was closing fast, and the cartel ship's captain would rather destroy his prize than let it be captured. They could feel the power building in the ship's reactor core. A self-destruct sequence had been initiated. "The reactor's crystalline matrix," Echo noted. "It's crude compared to my people's technology, but the principles are similar. Shall we show them what it means to be a bridge?" Sarah smiled, understanding flowing between them. They raced through the ship's corridors, no longer bothering with stealth. Any crew members they encountered found themselves gently but firmly sealed behind security doors, protected from what was about to happen. The reactor room was sealed, but doors meant nothing now. Sarah placed her hand against the wall, and crystalline patterns spread from her touch, restructuring the metal at a molecular level. They stepped through the opening they'd created into the heart of the ship's power. The reactor core pulsed with dangerous energy, building toward critical mass. But Sarah and Echo saw beyond the crude mechanics of fission and fusion. They saw the crystalline lattice that channeled the power, the mathematical songs that governed its flow. Together, they began to sing. The reactor's containment chamber crystallized, transforming into something that was neither fully technology, nor fully organic. The destructive energy was caught, channeled, and reformed into pure crystalline harmony. The ship's systems, one by one, evolved into something new, a hybrid of human engineering and Lumine crystalline science. On the bridge, the captain stared in disbelief as his ship transformed around him. The Federation cruiser's sensors were recording everything, broadcasting the impossible transformation across all frequencies. Sarah and Echo stood in the transformed reactor room, their shared consciousness extending throughout the crystallized ship. Through the hull sensors, they could see the Federation cruiser holding position, its weapons powered down in obvious awe. "And so it begins," Echo mused. "A new bridge between worlds." "They'll be afraid," Sarah said aloud, though she didn't need to speak for Echo to understand. "The Federation, the corporations, the independent worlds, they'll all want this power. They cannot take what must be freely given." Echo's thoughts rippled with ancient wisdom. "What we are now, What we have created cannot be forced or copied. It must grow from trust, from choice, from the willingness to reach across the divide between species. Sarah felt the truth of it in their shared consciousness. The Luminae had never been meant to be weapons or tools, but teachers. Echo was offering humanity a chance to evolve beyond the endless cycles of conflict and control, to learn the art of true cooperation not just with alien life, but with the technology they'd created. The crystalline ship hung in space, a beacon of impossible possibility. Already, Sarah could feel other minds awakening to the song. Scientists, explorers, dreamers who could sense that everything was about to change. This wasn't just a revolution in technology or politics. It was a revolution in what it meant to be human, to be alive, to be connected to something greater than yourself. What do we do now? Sarah asked, though she could feel the answer forming in their shared thoughts. Now, Echo replied, their combined consciousness reaching out toward the stars. We build bridges. The ship's crystalline hull caught the light of distant suns, refracting it into patterns that had not been seen in the galaxy for millennia. Within its transformed corridors, human and Luminae worked as one, their partnership the living promise that the greatest adventures come not from conquering the unknown, but from learning to sing with it in harmony. And in that moment, as their story spread across the stars, both Sarah Chen and Echo knew that they had started something that could never be undone. The bridges they would build would reshape the galaxy, one connection at a time, until the song of human and crystal and starsong became a single eternal harmony. The revolution wasn't in the technology, or the power, or even the transformation. The revolution was in learning to trust, to share, to grow beyond the boundaries of self. The revolution was in learning to sing together.